The people said they wanted their Overreaction Monday. And so we said, Catch and I said, all right, we're going to do it. We will not cancel Overreaction Monday. You people have spoken. We are here. So bring in my main man, Jeff Ketchum. It is time for Overreaction Monday. Good morning to you, Jeff.
Good morning, Anwar. Good to be with you. I don't mind doing an hour of Monday overreactions. I just don't know that I have a whole bunch of them today.
That's okay. We'll work on it. By the way, you want to do the plug for Rogue Shop or not? I feel like this is right up your alley to talk about the Rogue Shop and
I feel like I want to partake in some Rogue Shop right now. Rogue Shop, the sponsor of the Monday Overreaction Show. Texas is home for legal CBD, THC, and so much more. Use that Orange Bloods code, promo code Orange Bloods to get your 10% off discount. If you've never been to the Rogue Shop the Rogue Shop website. See, I'm not ready for this Monday morning thing. Just go shop the website. You know you got a discount. You know they're going to hook you up. Maybe you don't quite know what you want to get. We're always big fans of the cartridges. Let's just get right to the punch, right to the point.
Yes.
But they got a lot of things, and not just to get, a little bit of a stone, but the salves can make the body feel good. You and I know people. I've used them. We know people who've used them. They're automatic. So there you go. RogueShop.com, sponsor of this segment.
Yeah. And by the way, for me, Catch, as a person who never really got good sleep, I have like a little bit of a sleep apnea, Catch. And I don't want to, the main reason is, Catch, they say I have a large tongue. And because of that, they offered to do a surgery to cut down my tongue. And I'm like, well, that doesn't sound like anything I want to be a part of, right? So I've always suffered with doing my sleep stuff. And then I got on the Rogue products, started sleeping like a baby through the night. And I feel like I've been happier throughout the day. I feel like for the most part, working with Anwar has been a little bit more pleasant over the past year, probably far less outbursts than before. I definitely think that has something to do with the Rogue products. I just want to throw that out there. So,
we can't just move on from the you have a big tongue thing. Like, are you Gene Simmons? Can you touch the tip of your nose?
No. It's it's the width of it is what it is. And so when they said when I go to sleep, the tongue rolls back into my mouth, and then that causes me to not sleep as well.
I'm not going to say anything appropriate. Let's just talk about overreaction.
There's a reason why I've been married multiple times, Catch.
See? Don't let me steer you down.
Okay. All right. Let's overreact. Give me, Catch. I got several topics for us to overreact to. Okay.
I have one. If you want my big one.
All right. I want your big one.
It's related to Quinn Ewers.
Oh, okay.
It's hard not to be really impressed with the transformation of Quinn Ewers, just the way people kind of talk about him behind the scenes. I think back to the very first practice of this year where Quinn Ewers you guys were describing Quinn Ewers kind of leading, being in the middle of the huddle, sounding the guys off, gathering them up, truly kind of playing the role of first team quarterback, leader of the team, which is the thing that I think Sarkisian, the coaches, the players, everybody wants him to be that guy. You think about the way he's transformed his body. You think about the way he cut the mullet, shaved his face, streamlined his look, stopped being kind of a caricature of a player that he hadn't even become yet. He's been in the book, the playbook. He's done everything. I think back to last year at this exact moment in time. I had people behind the scenes who were questioning his commitment, talking about things like, well, when he went to Mexico, he didn't take a football and a playbook with him. And how dare he actually enjoy Mexico on his little downtime instead of just being all about football. You think back to this past year, I think it was during spring break when he stayed and worked, right? Mm-hmm. I had people last year telling me that they were questioning his intelligence and whether or not he could even handle the playbook. 12 months later, it doesn't feel like any of those things are being talked about. I don't have anybody saying Quinn Ewers isn't smart. Quinn Ewers doesn't care. All of the descriptive terms towards him have been positive. So here's my overreaction.
Okay.
If he goes into the season and doesn't just absolutely explode into one of the best quarterbacks in the country and certainly one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, then offseason reports, we should just never give him again. He can't do more. He can't do more. He can't give more. He can't look better. He can't improve. Like, he's done all of the things that he can control in the offseason onward. The only thing that we don't know, does it matter when the games start? Does it matter when Alabama brings pressure? Does it matter when he feels pressure? Like, those are the last remaining questions, is how all of this applies to Quinn Ewers during the game. But my big overreaction, my biggest one from the first 4 days of camp, is just what a transformation Quinn Ewers has made in a bunch of little areas that you hope translate to a lot of big things.
I mean, the thing is, Catch, and you're correct. Catch, I've brought up this point before, and I know you'll co-sign on it, which is Steve Sarkisian. If you don't have his stamp of approval, you just don't. And we saw what that looked like before with Casey Thompson and Hudson Card. I just combined two names. We saw what that looked like, because at no point was he willing to put his stamp of approval on either quarterback when they were battling for that position. And even after they got the position, and even after the season was over, Catch, when it was like, all right, you figure, all right, these guys have had some time, they've had a chance to learn. And he still was kind of like, we got to get better at that position. And so we know in this year, in this whole entire offseason, it's been something totally different, Catch. It has been at every point in turn when the subject of Quinn Ewers comes up, Steve Sarkisian is like, that's my guy. He's done all these things. He's in this is what he's saying, but in front of us, in front of the camera, there's things that we know that go on behind the scenes. But in front of the camera, Catch, from spring, when spring football was done, he's like, that's our quarterback, because he knew that people were talking about Arch Manning and Arch kind of coming here, maybe competing for it, and he just slammed the door. Now, Catch, this is the same guy who will tell you, we got to keep guys hungry. And so in order to keep guys hungry, I'm not going to tell you who the starters are. That's what he'll tell you. And he'll say that. I won't tell you who the starters are because I got to keep guys hungry. But when it came to Quinn Ewers, oh, he's my starter. Just slam the door. Arch and Malik, y'all go ahead and battle for number 2. All throughout the offseason, every spot that I've gone to, whether it was on his tour, whether it was in San Antonio or Houston, or they was in Dallas, whether it was at some places in the summer, whether it's Big 12 media days, and now here in training camp, it's just one more than another that, like you said, he's put in the work, he's gotten better, and Sark really has high hopes for him. And you're right, it does speak to the transformation that he's made, the serious attitude that he's made, a little bit of humbleness, Catch, that happened last year, to now he realizes, oh, for me to get to my ultimate goal, I really got to grind on this thing, the body transformation, the diet, all those kind of things. Like, he's done the work, Catch. If he's not successful this season, it won't be because he hasn't put in the work to be successful. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I think I went into last season with 3 major concerns about Ewers. Number 1, how does he react to pressure in games when it's in his face? It goes back to high school. If there was a glitch in the system for him, because he didn't often face a lot of pressure at South Lake Carroll. When he did, you could see his mechanics get a little sloppy. You could see him throw off his back foot, which would sometimes lead to balls going into places that were dangerous. And in high school, it didn't always hurt you, but in college, and certainly even beyond that, right? I mean, those types of throws can get you in trouble. We saw a little bit of that last season. I've always had questions about his deep ball. At the time when he was a recruit, people mistook the concern of his ability to throw the deep ball with his ability to throw it far, right? So I would say things like, God, I don't know how well he throws the deep ball. And then I would hear, well, he threw the ball 900 yards in the air at a camp, so why would you question the deep ball? And it's like, well, it's not about how far he can throw the ball. It's about whether or not the timing and connecting with his receivers. And we looked at Xavier Worthy last year, and that kind of came to a head. I think those two things still exist. The third thing, those things, you can get better in those areas. An area that I was really concerned about last year was the give a shit area. How much does he care? We've heard people make these weird Jeff George comparisons, and some of that has to do with his arm talent. And some of it, I think, has to do with people think of him as being a bit mercurial, that maybe he's aloof. Maybe he's got a little bit of an attitude. I think some of it came from stuff last year. I don't really worry about that anymore. I think we've seen maturation occur. I think we've seen the first steps in Quinn Ewers going from a boy to a young man, and eventually he will be a full-grown man. I still have some concerns about what happens when the lights come on and there are still areas of his game that we need to see improve on the field, in games, things that can only happen once you're in games. You can't simulate the speed, what's coming at you, the fear factor. He knows in practice at Texas that he's not going to get hurt, that nobody's going to pile drive him. But what happens in game 2 against Alabama when the pressure gets there? Will he stick that throw? Will he miss it? There's still elements there, but the character makeup has been completely answered for me. And I got to be honest with you. That's the thing that worried me the most about Quinn Ewers, that we're here this year, 12 months later, through the first week of camp, and Quinn Ewers isn't anybody's concern. Quinn Ewers isn't, there's nobody saying that there's another quarterback on campus that knows the offense better, that can get up and teach it on the chalkboard better. Ewers has made so many real improvements. You almost have to believe it does make a difference on the field during the games, but that's the next step. That's where we are. But that he's cleared this one hurdle is no small thing. Because I will mention that towards the end of last year, Sarkisian was not afraid to say, we're opening up the quarterback competition. He still says today when doing interviews, our passing game last year wasn't good enough, period. Our passing game needs to be our bread and butter, and it wasn't a year ago. And I think I even heard Sarkisian last week say for the first time, admitting that there were games where they abandoned the pass. I think about the end of the Baylor game when they ran 20-something straight run plays from about 12 or 13 minutes left in the fourth quarter on, never put the ball back in the air again. They won the game. And I think Texas fans were like, yes, lean into your strength of Roschon and Bijan, which he didn't do the week before against Oklahoma State. But, man, it's not a small thing that the head coach comes out and says, the area that you're in charge of wasn't good enough. We need to be better. And that 3 or 4 months after he's saying those types of things on War, Sarkisian was back in the this is my guy territory. And so credit to Ewers, because he left the door open at times in 2022 with Arch on the way, with Malik developing. And he really slammed the door shut on the idea of somebody might be coming for my job. And the only way to do that, got to be a hell of a lot better in a lot of different ways, and he's done that.
Yeah, I mean, and Sark is judging that thing in practice. I think you brought out really good points as far as you still got to see certain things as it happens within the season, Catch. But to do the things behind the scenes, as Sark's a quarterback guy. He knows when guys are putting in the work. He knows what to look for specifically in practice. He knows if a guy is fully prepared and is able to, make all his reads and know the checkdowns but be able to. He knows. It's when you put in the work. And Sark understood, okay, there's more to be done. And so when they start talking about, okay, the transformation that needs to occur, as simplistic as it is, Catch, it starts with them saying, okay, You cut off that hair, cut off that mullet. I forget which player it was last week. I don't know if it was Christian Jones or Byron Murphy, but they said they felt like the moment that he cut off the mullet, he just became a different person. Like it is. I don't know what that is, but they felt like he became more serious. And the thing that was interesting that Sark has talked about when he's always said because he's been asked about the mullet question, and it seems like such a ridiculous reporter question. You know, when reporters ask like, "What's your favorite Halloween candy?" You know, like that kind of thing, or "What do you want for Thanksgiving?" Like you get that once a year, twice a year, and like it just you hate it. And so when the mullet questions have come up, I've thought to myself, "Oh, here we go. It's like Halloween candy." But he talked about like, yeah, but you know, your reputation precedes you, and people perceive you as a certain way. In a certain degree, Catch, you perceive yourself as a certain way. Like Catch, if some guy was like, "Hey, this is gonna Catch, I'll help you out with your taxes, and I'll make sure that the IRS doesn't make sure you go to jail," but he's got the Joe Dirt mullet. Are you going with that guy? Or are you like, let me keep shopping around and see what, like, is you letting the guy with a mullet like perform surgery on you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's certain things you think about like important in life. But they talked about that being like, he said, like, you got to get, basically, you got to grow up, for the lack of better terms, Catch. You got to grow up, and you just got to get better. So he grows up, he does that, and then he starts, like you said, dedicating himself, you know, within that offseason, and starts proving himself fairly quickly. Like, okay, this is what he needs to do. Like you said, this year for spring break, there was no Mexico. He was working with his quarterback coach the entire time, you know, just trying to get it in. You know, Clyde Christensen, who the guy also coaches Patrick Mahomes, who, by the way, that was a good thing. Did you watch the QB thing on Netflix?
I have not watched that yet.
It actually was pretty good. It actually was pretty good. I liked it a little bit better than Hard Knocks, because in Hard Knocks,
really,
because in Hard Knocks focuses on so many people, and these were just like three individuals. It was just Patrick Mahomes, Marcus Mariota, and Kirk Cousins. So just because those three people, it was easier to focus. So I would actually recommend it to you. So he works with that guy over the summer, and then we work with him all the time. And I would check in, Catch, with my sources. And at last year, at certain points in the off season, when I would ask, like, "Hey, well, what's Quinn up to? And what's he doing?" You know, I would hear a lot of, "Oh, he's working here, but he's also relaxing." And all I've heard is work, 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 work the absolute entire time. And so, you know, we talk about like Sark and what his legacy ends up being tied to, and this becomes like a big year. Like the success of Quinn becomes, you know, pretty huge for him, because that's his 5-star. Like that's his 5-star at Texas. And Catch, we've seen guys who've come into, and I've got a question for you. We've seen guys come into here, whether it's Charlie Strong or Tom Herman, having like these reputations prior to Texas. They don't, for some reason, live up to it. Like Charlie in the defense. Charlie's a defensive-minded guy, defensive kind of guru. We didn't see that at Texas. Tom Herman was kind of the QB whisperer that he was supposed to be. We didn't necessarily see that here at Texas. You know, and now same thing. You know, we hear about Sark. This is kind of the year for that to happen, right? This is the year where you live up to that. Todd Orlando was supposed to be a defensive guy, defensive genius. It was like, he gets fired after 3 seasons. You know what I'm saying? So we hear a lot of guys. We hear a lot of hype. Then when we get there for the performance, it doesn't always live up to the hype. So this is big for them. Okay, so here's my question for you, Catch. I'm kind of curious, because you talked about having a big year, and it's hard. I want to see if you can give me an average number. So look, if we look at Michael Penix last year from Washington, Catch, 4,641 yards, 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Caleb Williams, 4,537 yards, 42 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Drake May, 4,321 yards, 38 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. So when you say that he needs, you know, you're expecting, I don't think you said you're expecting a big year, but I think you talked about the importance of
I am expecting a big year.
Are you expecting it at that level of where we're talking about Penix and Williams, or are we just talking about improvements?
I mean, if he's not putting up 4,000 yards and 30 plus touchdowns, this team's not doing anything. So, I think over 12 games, he's going to put up exceptional numbers. I would take the over on, I think I was about to, before you asked the question, tell you one of my biggest remaining concerns with Quinn. And It's not one that's really been brought up. It's the thing that might keep him from getting 4,000 yards and 35 touchdowns. I feel like, let me just say this. I feel like an asshole for even bringing this up. Okay. Because I just patted him on the back for all of this hard work. Part of me kind of I worry about his body type a little bit. Like, now that he's in great shape, he kind of looks more like a middleweight than a light heavyweight. He had a little bit of baby fat on him last year. You could see, I don't want to describe him as chunky, but he filled out his uniform, right? Like, I never looked at Quinn Ewers last year and thought, yeah, he's like a welterweight. But now that he's in the shape of his life, I wonder how strong physically I don't know. Like, it's a question that I don't know the answer to, but he's more Shane Buechele body right now than he is Sam Ehlinger body, if that makes sense. That he's a leaner, he looks fantastic. I just wonder, in the game of football, does that mean he breaks down a little bit more? I have heard there's some NFL concerns. What few exist, he is not the biggest guy in the world. So I wonder, over 12 games, is that going to be an issue at all? If it's not, he plays 12 games, I think he's going to put up pinball, video game type numbers. He's got the receivers to do it. It wouldn't surprise you at all if I said Sanders, Worthy, Mitchell all have more than 8 touchdowns apiece. And that doesn't sound crazy. So, yeah, I mean, we're just at this point now where we need to see it. But it feels good to be in a place with Quinn Ewers where he's not being nitpicked. Really. Because I think some people felt like this stuff was when I brought this stuff up a year ago, 12 months ago, and it was like, guys, I'm hearing that there are playbook concerns, and I don't want to say it, but how smart is he? People were like, whoa, how dare you? He's a young player. How dare you bring this stuff up? And it was like, well, do you want me to report, or do you not want me to report? Do you want me to just shut my mouth and tell you that everything is great, but then you get mad at me when the team doesn't win enough games and play in a Big 12 championship game? That those issues aren't there mean that I guess we're always going to move on to the next thing. There's always something to nitpick. I hate to be the guy that's like, he needs to get into better shape. And then when he gets into better shape, it's like, I wonder if that's a good thing that he's in better shape. There's just some unknown territory that we're going to go into with Quinn. But when you ask me what my expectations are, yes, I fully expect for him to have Michael Penix type numbers should he stay healthy. And that's all that's left for him. It's one of the reasons why it's hard for me to believe that he doesn't go pro after this season, because I really do expect statistically a huge year for Quinn Ewers.
I mean, it's interesting because Ben G totally stole my thought, because I wrote it down, on my pad over here. I said is this body shape more like a Bryce Young at this point? As far as that smaller, but maybe a little bit taller than Bryce.
He might be. He's bigger. He's a little bit bigger than Bryce Young.
Yeah, but Bryce. I mean, Quinn only has to shave about 3 pounds to be in that weight class, right? His walk around weight and then his fighting weight. He seems like he's right there, and it is. It's a tale of extremes, right? Because they have Malik Murphy, who's in that room, and I mean, he looks like he's training for the next Fast and Furious movie, right? So he's I don't like, are you playing quarterback or are you trying to replace Vin Diesel? Like, I don't know what's going on with there, Malik. Like, he's huge. Arch is, got a different thing.
I don't think with either of those two guys, you worry about whether their bodies can hold up to the damage that one is inflicted on each other, right? But like with Quinn, I don't quite have the same benefit of the doubt where I look at Malik and Arch and go, yeah, their bodies look like they'll be able to sustain the pounding. I look at Quinn a little bit. It's not changing my prediction. I'm not predicting, well, he's going to get hurt. They're going to break his collarbone at some point in the season because he's lost some weight. And he's in. No, it's not that. It's just like in the back of my mind, a question that exists. The biggest questions remain, how will he react in the biggest moments with the most pressure? How will he perform? Will he complete the deep balls? Like, oh, there are these things. Those are the most important things for me. But I would be lying if I said there wasn't this one little shadow of doubt about this new Quinn that I wonder what the unintentional consequences might be, when a 300-pound lineman lands on him this year versus a year. He broke his collarbone, right? Like a year ago when this exact same thing happened. So it was already within the realm of possibilities that injuries can occur. It's just something I'm thinking about. I don't want to be negative Nancy. I'd rather everybody hear my words and focus mostly on the fact that I think 4,000 yards and 30-plus touchdowns, they're not just on the table. There's a part of me that thinks that should probably be the expectation, especially if he's going to play in 13, 14 games like this year.
Blake says the prize picks Quinn Ewers passing yards for the season. The over-under is 2,850.
Jump on that.
So jump on. Hey, listen. Hey, guys, Prize Picks is one of our partners. And look, in a little bit, yes, Prize Picks is going to be one of our partners. We'll do weekly shows on Fridays with these kind of things. If you already signed up for Prize Picks, yes, for sure, then jump on it now. If not, hey, we'll have some promos coming within the next couple of weeks, and then you'll be able to sign up. But $28.50, that's pretty good, Catch. $28.50. I might put in my Prize Picks today for that if that's the case. $28.50 sounds like light work.
He gets hurt is the only way he doesn't go past 2,800 8 weeks into the season, 9 weeks into the season. This is a offense that's lost its running game. We saw it in the bowl game in San Antonio. Like they lost that game. But Ewers was one of the highlights from that game, right? I mean, you feel like if Ewers plays as well against Washington as he did, and they've got Bijan and Roschon there, suddenly it feels like that's a game they probably win, I think. I mean, they were playing one hand behind their back against Washington towards the end of the season. Ewers wasn't great the entire game, but he was certainly great for portions of that game. Very good for portions of that game. Mediocre for a little bit of that game as well. There were stretches where he didn't play well, but what did he throw for in that game? It was 3-something, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, he cleared 300 yards easily. And that was with a hurt Xavier Worthy, no A.D. Mitchell, no Jonte Cook, no Isaiah Nayor. I mean, this should be a galactic type offense. And yeah, I think he's going to statistically have a bang up year. Seriously.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. It catches is our promo for Orange Blood still good right now?
Yeah, put that promo up.
Put that on the screen and leave that up there for a second, Blake, because listen, this is the Orange Bloods promo. Where you now get 67% off, which is essentially, Catch, what did you do the math? Like about 7 months for free?
Yeah, it's like $3 a month.
So $3 a month to join the Orange Bloods community.
It's insulting that we would give our work away for $3 a month.
Can I'm gonna because I want to parlay this into something that I had on Orange Bloods a few weeks ago that if you're a member of Orange Bloods and an insider, you would have known a few weeks ago. I'll give it to you now. You can say to yourself, "Well, I'll just listen to the shows and I'll get it." No, we're not going to give you everything. Just going to give you a little teaser of something that I reported what we have our war room every week. It's our insider column. So you go from average fan to insider, and you just get to learn everything that's going on within the team, as opposed to just waiting to see what someone posts on Twitter. One of the things that I had in there, Catch, was that, there's always been questions about Quinn being verbal. And is he alpha enough? And, does he speak up enough? Or he's just kind of Mr. Shy Guy? And then during one of the practices, right after the practices, they start talking about, one of my sources told me about Quinn basically gathers the team around, Catch, and he tells them, hey, listen, if you guys trust in me, I will carry us to a championship this year, but you've got to trust in me. If you trust me, I promise you, I will lead you guys to a championship this season. Again, we had that on Orange Bloods a few weeks ago. I'm giving you a teaser as to what you can expect, little things like that. 67% off. Keep it for yourself. Gift it to somebody that, who's a Longhorn fan. And Catch, I always say, the wives always come up to me and they say, my husband is always on Orange Bloods. He's always on his phone reading what you guys write and on the message board. And you know what I always tell them in return? You're welcome. Your husband's always home. You're welcome. You know where to find your husband at all times because he's in the room seeing what Catch and I talk about. So I just want to parlay that, by the way.
$10 a month is better than $20 for 3 minutes. Just so you know, if women are out there worried about their husband's hobbies,
yes,
$10 a month is for the time that it occupies.
Yes, hours.
Trust me, there are places that he can go to very easily where $20 disappear very quickly. And I want to say this. I felt like my 10 thoughts from the weekend, which I posted last night, I thought it was one of the best columns that I've written this year. And there's not one single piece of it that we've spoiled in the 37 minutes we've been doing Monday overreactions. So don't think that, well, I'll do the videos and then I don't need Orange Bloods. I think I wrote, did you read it onward? I wrote what I think is the quintessential Colin Simmons primer.
Yes.
It outlined, and I actually, when I did it on War, I was like, oh, I looked back at some of the comments that Colin Simmons has made about Baton Rouge and LSU 12 months ago. And I was like, oh, if you go back and look at some of this stuff, you can see where when he went back to LSU last weekend, you could see where it became problematic to Texas because that kid loves LSU and Baton Rouge. So much so, if you ask him about it, if you say, what do you think about Baton Rouge? He will go on a rant about how much he loves Baton Rouge. Just little pieces. I would say if you haven't read 10 Thoughts from the Weekend yet, sign up, give that a look. Go take a look at the Sunday Pulpit and realize you just got that for $3. There, rant over.
Yeah, and by the way, in season, Alex Dunlap, if you like to geek out on stats and numbers, he gives you a weekly breakdown, like unlike anything you ever see. That when I'm talking about, he'll tell you how many snaps a guy has, disruptions, all these. I'm talking about the geekiest of geekiest stuff that's out there. He will break that down for you. So there's a lot for only a couple dollars, and it's also a great community. Just want to put that thing because it's more than
former offensive line coaches say, "How is Al out?" They question where he's getting. Like his stuff is so good. We've had former Texas coaches question whether he's getting his information from someone on the coaching staff.
Oh yeah, I had someone piss call me one time. I had someone back in a few staffs ago really ticked off about that, and they would not believe that he did it on his own. They refused to believe.
Who's talking? Where's he getting that from?
Yeah, they thought I was full of crap. I was like, no, that guy just is a weird guy who just goes in his basement for several days and does those things. So that happened as well. Okay, so
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah. Uh-oh.
No, it's trust me. You're good.
So we started with large tongue. I don't know where it's going now. Go ahead.
We're not going back there. Although, never mind. No, I'm not going to do it. I almost did it. So you got to be careful when you do things like that because I am like a golden retriever. If you throw a tennis ball in front of my face, whatever the hell I was about to do, I'm changing it. So now the question I was going to ask, 4 days through practice, what's your big UT football overreaction through 4 practices?
Ooh, overreaction.
Mine was Quinn, right? Which is never again should we even bother with offseason reports if it doesn't translate to improved play for Quinn because he's been so good. Give me one.
I'm still, my overreaction is, Catch, I'm still not 100% settled on the running back room and what they're going to do there. Like I'm not settled on that, Catch, because first of all, you know, everyone, I felt like everyone tried to talk us into Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks is going to be the number 1 guy. And you felt, all right, it's going to be Brooks, and it's a Brooks show. And then we go out there for practice, and then it's like, well, Brooks has missed practice for an illness. And of course, as always, as programs are, they don't give any detail. They don't say he's just sick. Or illness could be anything, right? It could be anything. So I don't love that. You know, the rotation. You know, I see as I see it going on. So Savion Red, Catch. Kind of further down on the food chain. You know, everyone talks about Savion Red, and he ends up being like the 5th guy getting snaps, you know. So you ask yourself, well, how effective can this whole thing be? I feel like I'm not at the place, Catch, where I'm willing to say that I believe the Texas running back room is plug and play. Like the next man up for the Texas running back room. I'm not there yet. And you can tell me how effective Jonathan Brooks was in the limited role, and I get it. That's cool. He was very effective in his limited role. I'm not to take anything away with that, but we're talking about starting for a 12-game season. What happens with Jaden Blue? What happens with a CJ Baxter? What happens with a Savion Red? They still have Keelan Robinson. Catch, on Friday, Keelan Robinson was getting the number 2 carries. Actually, he was number 1 carries because Jonathan Brooks was out. So Keelan Robinson was getting all the carries. You'll point to the Washington game in the bowl game, and you'll point to that and say, Catch, you're not sold that he should be the guy that's going in between the tackles. So that's where it is for me, Catch. For my overreaction is, seeing's going to be believing for me when it comes to that whole running back room.
I think Sarkisian's waiting for CJ Baxter to take that job. And I say that his answer last Monday when asked about, hey, what are you watching? He talked about the running back position. First thing that came out of his mouth, and he talked about it like it was wide open. He didn't talk about it like, hey, we got this guy, Jonathan Brooks, who we expect to be the starter. That's my guy that I think is going to be a 1,000-yard running back this year. It was like, I don't know. We'll see. It's one of those things that I'm going to be watching. If you got 5, is that whole, if you got 2 quarterbacks, do you have 1? If you have 5 running backs, do you have 1? And
it's a great question.
I don't know. Like, I think they do. Think about the running game that people don't talk about enough. And I'll point back to that chart that I pulled about a month ago. I should probably get it in Blake's hands because I'll probably reference it like 20 more times before the season starts. But of all Power 5 running backs for the last decade, that's a lot of players.
Yeah.
Every Power 5 running back for the last decade. Bijan and Roschon both ranked in the top 4 of all running backs all time amongst Power 5 players in the last 10 years in terms of making players miss and getting yards after contact.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at the success they did have last year in the running game, the data does not say that offensive line was spectacular. What the data says is the running backs were great after contact and making guys miss tackles and yards after contact. They were great at. Well, you take those two guys away, and the only thing we have to go on is what happened in the Washington game, which the running game really just quit. They just didn't have it. So I think all these players are good. I think Jonathan Brooks is good. I think CJ Baxter is going to be really good. I don't know how good the interior of that offensive line really is. And, just like with Quinn, it's hard to give benefit of the doubt until it happens in games. So I expect that the interior of the offensive line will be better because they're a year older, but you and I say at least once a week, careful with that whole they're better just because. Oh, hey, are you better, Anwar, this year than you were last year just because you're a year older?
I mean, it's everybody's got seniors catch like that. It's not, if that's the case, then every team should be undefeated because they have older guys. Like that's just not how it goes.
Don't worry about Orange Bloods. I'm 47 now. I'm at my peak. Like I think that all these question marks have to be answered. But the running game one, it could prove to be the Achilles heel of this team. And it won't be total rushing yards. It won't be the average yards per carry by the running backs as a team. It'll be in 3 or 4 games this year. Alabama is a perfect example. If it's 3rd and 2, can you get 2 yards when you absolutely need it most? I'm not talking about getting 8 on 1st and 10 against Rice. I'm talking about 3rd and 2 in the red zone against Alabama. The difference between 7 points and 3 points, the ability to execute in these short yardage situations, to identify how you're going to get those yards in the running game. We've seen things in the past where people have been like, let's see the Wildcat offense. Let's do this. Let's do that. And, can you just line up and get 2 yards on 3rd and 2 with the game is on the line? You never worried about that a ton last year. You would have trusted if Roschon or Bijan are in the backfield, we'll get 2 yards. It's a little different this year. And in the toughest games, in games on the road, like these are where the running game, I think, has to execute at a really high level. And, I don't even think Sarkisian can say for sure today that they're going to have a high-level running game. And what that means, potentially nothing if your quarterback is Michael Penix, right? Well, Quinn threw for 4,600 yards and 40 touchdowns. You don't quite need the running game as much at that point, but you still need to be able to convert short yardage. You still need to be good situationally. And the last time we saw this team, they were not good in those areas in the run game.
Yeah, I mean, catch in that room. Help jog my memory a little bit. Is CJ Baxter the only guy that was recruited by this current staff? Or
yes.
Sarkisian? Is everybody else kind of a carryover from previous staffs?
Yes.
Okay. So, because that plays a factor at a certain point. Like, of course, Bijan and Roschon are NFL players. You can work with those, right? Because they're, one guy goes in the 1st round, other guy goes in the 4th, and that, of course, the staff deserves credit for that and helping to develop into those kind of players. So that portion I won't negate, but there has to be a point too, though, Catch, where there's the guys that you've recruited. And those are like the guys that you have your eye on and you thought to yourself, this is more of what I'm looking for down the line, that this explosiveness, the CJ Baxter of the world, more so than some of the other guys. Like, and you make the most out of it because, Catch, this is what we've heard from the stat. Like, they've made the most out of what they've had or what they've inherited. And then when they have the opportunity to upgrade, then they upgrade at those positions. And we've seen it happen in the receiver position, right? They decided that they had who they had. And then when they could upgrade, they brought in their guys, upgraded the quarterback room, upgraded the offensive line room, trying to do it on the defensive side of the ball, upgraded at linebacker. So, you're waiting for that upgrade, from the running back room, and maybe CJ Baxter ends up being that guy who ends up being the upgrade that we've been seeing over the past couple of years when it's all said and done. So like I said, I just don't, it is hard catch to just go from Roshan and Bishan and just act like we're good. We got another guy. And it's like, well, let's see that. Let's see that. It's not like when Jatavian leaves, if he leaves after the season, you're just going to automatically say, yeah, Gunnar Helm does the same thing. Like he's just as good. Like you'll say like, all right, let's see if Gunnar Helm is just the same thing. The same thing. We'll have the same conversation if Quinn leaves after this season, right? It's going to be like, well, let's see if those guys are just as good. So there's nothing wrong with taking a pause on it. But yeah, that for my overreaction catch, I still don't know yet as relates to that. They'll have every opportunity, but right now I can't necessarily just tell myself with the same certainty that I have on other positions. I can't just sit here and lie and say I have the same certainty when it relates to running backs.
I'm with you.
Okay. All right. Can I ask before you get out? I know we got about like 10 more minutes. I said a couple of things in the first hour. I kind of want to get your take from a recruiting perspective, and this kind of bleeds into your wheelhouse. Okay, so I did. I mentioned the Arizona State coming into the Big 12, and I thought like in a bubble, in a vacuum, and that it just kind of is what it is. But it also mentioned that Samples and Brian Carrington now have every reason to recruit in the state of Texas. And I pointed out the number of guys that they actually have gotten so far. My question to you, Ketch, is with Cincinnati coming into the Big 12 and with all these other teams, Colorado basically coming back into the Big 12, Arizona State, the state of Texas become just a little bit more difficult to recruit in because it already is, and it's already a tough landscape to navigate. But now does the fight for the mid 4 stars and the high 3 stars, did that fight become more intense because there's more people with a vested interest in that can expand their footprint into the state of Texas now?
Probably for the second tier of prospects in recruiting, you think about like your low 4 stars, your high 3 stars, really the big belly of recruiting inside the state. Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, if we look at the top 20 in the state of Texas right now, Clemson, Florida, Georgia, A&M, Oklahoma, Arkansas, TCU, Michigan. 8 different schools have, and a couple of these schools, have multiple commitments. Georgia's got a couple. They've got Michael Union. They've got Jonah Ajanye. Florida's got a couple of kids in the top 10. Georgia's actually got 3 commitments from kids inside the state, top 10, top 15. It's already really competitive. So this adds to the competition. All of those 8 schools that I mentioned have prospects committed to them ranked higher than anyone Texas currently has committed in the state of Texas. 8 different schools have at least one prospect ranked higher than anybody Texas has in the state of. Now that could change on Thursday. Colin Simmons commits, and suddenly nobody in the state has a player ranked ahead of Texas. But in terms of like how tough sledding it is for recruiting, it's never been tougher, I think, in the state of Texas in recruiting. So many programs come to Texas to try to get their fingers on prospects. I mean, Georgia doesn't have to come to Texas, but they do. And I think you'll see programs like Arizona State, who will fully take advantage. They will do everything they can to make that move only enhance their presence in Texas. I don't think the Arizonas and the Arizona States and the Colorados of the world will impact Texas regularly. Maybe once every year or every other year, there'll be a factor. But there's already so much competition in Texas. Adding more just makes it a little bit tougher for sure.
Yeah, I was just curious about that because like it's Colorado, it's like I said, it's all these other teams that are they're coming in here, and again, and I don't think teams that have a huge like footprint, like what's Cincinnati's recruiting footprint? Catch, where are they getting most of their guys at this moment?
The Midwest.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll go into Ohio, they'll go into Michigan. Obviously, they're in Cincinnati, so they'll stay in Ohio. They've got a little bit. They have a better, more natural talent pool to work with than some of these other schools. I wonder how much it helps a school like Utah, who already has been recruiting the state of Texas really well. I don't know if it's played yet, but we'll have a recruiting video coming out, I think today. I'm not sure if Blake got it done or not. I sent it late last night, so it might be one that gets in tomorrow. But, Jalen Ford was committed to Utah before he flips to Texas. I think, you're going to see more schools have their fingerprints on Texas prospects, but I think that really hurts TCU, Baylor, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State more than it hurts Texas or Oklahoma. They're going to be shopping at the higher end of the food chain. The problem is it's not Arizona State and Colorado they have to worry about. It's Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, those types of schools. But yes, the entire state of Texas gets more competitive with the changes that we've seen occur.
But if they don't get the elite guys that you're talking about, and your list kind of, like I said, we'll see what happens on Thursday, that pushes Texas down into that tier, right, Catch, of where everybody's fighting now over the same guys. Like I'm accurate with that description, am I?
Well, think about it like this. More than 80% of the state of Texas's top 100 players are already committed. I think, stop me. I'm going to start reading schools that have commitments in order. Tell me when you think something changes in terms of the level of player or the level of school that's landing commitments. So I'm going to start at number 16, or I'll start at 17 with Michael Uni. Georgia, Michigan, Texas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Houston, Texas.
Okay, stop.
Yeah.
Houston.
So now we're at the number 28 player in the state. If we didn't stop there, we'd go LSU, USC, LSU, Alabama, A&M, Oregon, A&M, Oklahoma, A&M, Texas, USC, Texas, Notre Dame, SMU.
Okay, maybe. You could definitely stop at SMU,
So,
right?
So look, after SMU, Louisville, Purdue, you're still getting some Notre Dames and some Ohio States, but you're getting Arkansas. We've got a North Texas commitment, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State. So the real answer to the question is top 50 will always be the top 50. And you might get an Arizona State or Colorado who can land a guy or two from that territory. But once you get past the top 50, anything goes. And those schools will feed off of prospects from those tiers of recruiting. Low 4 stars, high 3 stars. Oh my God. It's like a haven. It's heaven for those schools to be able to come into a territory with those level of prospects that the in-state powers aren't going after. Inside the state of Arizona, they may have 10, 15 kids that will have offers from Power 5 schools. And Arizona State will want them all. They can come into Texas. There are as good or better prospects that they have access to, and the Texases and the Texas A&Ms of the world or Oklahoma won't even bother with those kids, which means suddenly you're battling Tech and Baylor and TCU and Arkansas-ish for those types of prospects. And I think 50 to 100, you'll start to see a lot of those schools have some success.
Just one last thing before that, and I'll let you go, Catch, because I know you got your show coming up at noon. You and Chad Hastings, House Divided, and we got Brett McMurphy coming within the next 20 minutes. Within that, though, Catch, I'm just kind of curious. Now that Colorado is officially will be in the Big 12, does that help Dion recruiting wise, especially within the state of Texas?
Yes.
Okay.
Simple as that. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Well, perfect. There it is. All right. Jeff Ketchum, Overreaction Monday. Catch, tell him one more time about the Rogue product, the Rogue shop.
I mean, it's the gift that keeps on giving, both to yourself and other people. Go to rogueshop.com, use that promo code OrangeBloods, get your 10% off discount. The bottom line is it can make you feel good in a lot of different ways. Look, we stand behind the product. I use it. Anwar uses it. My mom uses it. I mean, you start talking about the THC and the CBD oils and all of the various stuff. They can help you in a lot of different ways. If you can feel better, why wouldn't you want to feel better? Yeah. Why wouldn't you spend money to feel better? Like, I hear a lot of people wake up every day, they don't feel good. Rogue can help with that. They can help with your aching bones. They can help with your anxiety. They can help with your ability to get sleep. Get 8 hours of sleep, wake up. You might be surprised by just how good you feel if you actually sleep through the night instead of waking up 6 times because you can't turn your brain off. So it's real simple. Let Rogue Shop make your life better. Use that QR code. Go to the website. Use the Orange Bloods discount. Orange Bloods is the promo code. You have no excuses. Make your life better today.
Thank you so much, Ketch, for joining. Again, Jeff Ketchum, House Divided from noon until 3 with his main man, Chad Hastings at 3 to 6. It's the Rodcast with Rod Babers. We are giving you 9 hours of live programming, 5 days a week. Ketch is actually doing things on weekends. It's a can't stop, won't stop kind of party that's here. And make sure you check it out. So, by the way, if you're still listening and you hadn't hit that like button, hit like. There's nearly 400 of you guys here and ladies that are out here. So hit like. If you have not subscribed to the channel, hit subscribe so you get all the notifications when all these shows come on, and we'll break it in. When Catch decides he's going to do something on a Saturday, if you get the notifications, you absolutely know that he's going to start talking about Colin Simmons, and you got to be there.